In this digital age, everyday information about organisations and people is stored in many different places. It can be confusing to confirm who owns valuable data and to protect it from cyber attacks. Veritas Technologies helps organisations harness the power of information to provide solutions and serve the most complex of needs to keep its customers' data safe. John Briggs reports.
The winds of change are blowing through the data industry right now, and with the arrival of the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, things are going to change about how and why data is stored. But do you know how much data is in your organisation? If you were asked to find it, would you know where to search? And do you know what represents data? You might be very surprised.
I use a phrase quite regularly with customers, which is you should never be surprised by the data that you have inside your organisation. And it's really that surprise piece. Most organisations, when we start uncovering what sort of data that they have inside organisations, suddenly the light bulbs go on. Suddenly they realise what the impact is.
For more than 25 years, Veritas has been recognised as a leading enterprise backup software provider, ensuring that data is available, visible and recoverable. 2 years ago, it began a transformation to empower its customers and help them leverage their most valuable business asset and remain compliant with changing legislation.
So we're right at the heart of everything that both GDPR and the Data Protection Bill subscribes for organisations. So our technology can really facilitate a better approach to identifying information, classifying information, and also then using it in a far more effective fashion.
I sit with a lot of organisations and it's amazing how many people don't even know what the GDPR is still. The biggest challenge that they will have is, will they be able to meet a subject access request in 30 days? I say that is possibly the next biggest challenge that they need to test themselves against.
With information being transferred between private and public clouds and back to customers' premises, it's not just about the amount of data, it's about where it lives and how it travels.
If we go back a little bit with the original Data Protection Act, that was built in the days when we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have all this social media and activity that was basically going on now. And one of the things that the GDPR puts in place is the ability for you to turn around and go, actually, I want my data to be in my control, not in your control.
And it's about more than having a data strategy. It's about measuring your exposure in a highly visible way.
So there's no doubt GDPR is a highly visible measure of data governance within an organisation. In fact, it's probably the only measure outside of being on the front page of the newspaper or on the TV when you've had a cyber attack or a data breach. So it creates a very visible measure.
I think the major problem for most organisations is that they've been holding on to their data forever. And I think for some of them that was by design. I think they hoped that they could hold on to it forever and that they would have some value at some point in time. I think in others it was simply that there was nobody responsible for that data, and so no one could really work out how to get rid of it.
So how do you define the data that you can keep or want to keep and the data that you delete? It strikes me it's a bit like going through your wardrobe and removing something that you suddenly discover a week later you actually really needed and wish you'd kept.
That's a very good analogy. In fact, it's a very similar process, and it's also one of those processes that make people feel very uncomfortable. The only way you can know is to consult people. You can look at what you've got, you can say to people, what are you using this for? And then you have to, by a process of consultation, come up with a justifiable timeline to hold on to it.
And in the future, partnering with a company that can prove that it understands the new data requirements could well enhance your brand.
Being associated with an organisation that's highly regarded by analysts and has a long-term track record in this area can be nothing but positive.
We talk about the fact that in the last 15 months, we've developed and come out with more new products than we have in the previous 15 years. We're still going to do our core heritage capabilities that basically made our name years ago. And we will turn into much more of an information management holistic view type company compared to just being the company that everybody thought was just a backup company.